Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Brando.
Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
It is I, Shino Brando.
And in honor of our 52nd issue, we take you through DC's new and old 52.
So to talk about this one, we have to establish what is a crisis. DC loves to throw the term around anytime they look at what's going on and they decide that it's stupid and dumb and they need to fix it. Traditionally speaking, a crisis is something that alters continuity in some really significant way. It changes the way DC tells stories for a long time after it. For this reason, we're not including things like Identity Crisis and Heroes in Crisis and Crisis on Three Earths, because for all that those use the word crisis, in the grand scheme of narratives, they don't actually matter. They don't change the universe in any big, meaningful way. And we've already got a lot on our plate, so we decided to just skip them.
The other ones we're skipping are Crisis on Multiple Earths, Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. With that in mind, let's go back to the Silver Age, shall we? First, to blow up a multiverse, we have to establish one. And when we first established one was Flash of Two Worlds. So from 1939 to 1956, all of DC Comics were too busy either telling kids how to pick up their clothes off their living room floor, telling them not to be racist, or, not to climb into a stranger's van. However, when DC decided that it wanted to tell more serious stories, the Golden Age heroes such as Hourman, Hawkman, and the rest of the JSA were no longer part of that storytelling. So we had to establish a new hero, and that hero was Barry Allen the Flash. Barry Allen the Flash's first appearance is in Showcase number 4. This marked the official transition from the Golden Age of comics to the Silver Age of comics. He replaced Jay Garrick the Flash, and in a story called Flash of Two Worlds, Barry Allen was trying to do a party trick and accidentally vibrated his molecules to Earth 2. Establishing that all the stories that had been told before this now took place on Earth 2, and Barry Allen's Earth and the stories that came to follow were Earth 1, where the stories of Earth 2 were actually comic books. So the name of the Flash was taken from a comic book of the Flash, which was a comic book of the Flash.
Credit where it's due. Disappearing to another reality is one hell of a party trick.
This also allowed, once DC got the taste of establishing more than one Earth, they went a little bonkers and they created Earths 1 through 16, Earth Alpha, Earth Beta, and my personal favorite, before we blow everything up, Earth C, home of Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew.
Captain Carrot, for the record, is not a carrot, but he is a rabbit.
It is basically
Best Superman allegory ever.
It is a rabbit with Superman powers, and the whole Earth is just zoo creatures. They all were in kind of fluid continuity until
Crisis on Infinite Earths. You've probably heard of this if you know anything about DC continuity, but you probably haven't looked very far into it other than the general ideas because, frankly, it's a lot. As the person who had to go and research this, it's a lot. Crisis on Infinite Earths was a 12-issue series released from April 1985 to March 1986. There were a number of tie-ins, a lot of things that kind of mattered, but not actually. Like, a lot of money got made off of this. So the big goal here was to clean house. DC's multiverse, too complicated, too silly. No one could be bothered to keep track of what was going on. So all of these things had to be kind of leveled out, flattened. Multiverse,
culled, if you will.
Yeah, DC decided that the multiverse was a bad idea, so they were going to kill it. The ones that we do care about for this: Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth X, Earth 4, and Earth S. So here's the deal. The Earths got categorized by the Monitor, and I would love to tell you that the Monitor is Cosmic Man #1, who is good TM, and carry on, but unfucking-fortunately, I actually have to explain this a little bit. So the Monitors. Initially, you're like, cool, he's just a dude taking notes with an evil twin, but no. The Monitors were created by a Hand, which are cosmic entities created by the Source to populate the Omniverse with multiverses, the Source being the source of all creation. Perpetua, who was a Hand, created a multiverse with 3 realms: positive matter, antimatter, and dark matter. Positive and dark both had merits, but anti was a little evil as a treat. She made 3 dudes to manage things. A guy to hang out in the dark realm and make worlds, most of which would be instantly recycled by a handy trash dragon. A guy to keep an eye on the positive realm to keep things on an even keel. And a guy to make sure none of this creation light build out of their little multiverse bubble into the omniverse. Except she then decided to be evil and fuck around and find out, so the monitors tried to call the reality cops, but instead the source sent a guy to shove her in a metaphysical wall forever. Except this wall made the guy who was stopping the creation juice spilling out obsolete, and he was so salty, he vowed to kill his brother, the monitor who was watching the positive realm, no matter how long it took. Cut to, the anti-monitor has woken up from his very, very long nap. His goal is to just fuck everything up, basically. He releases a wave of antimatter that's going through the multiverse, destroying worlds. This is, as the kids like to say, a problem. The Monitor, being an entity that does not suck at its job, notices this shit and decides to start smooshing Earths together like Play-Doh to strengthen them so they're harder to eat, but gets murdered before he can finish by his own assistant who's mind-controlled. Some of the Earths, the 5 we mentioned earlier, end up left in a weird limbo that, while safe from the antimatter wave, still isn't a great place to be. As is, all of time is trying to coexist, and that's just not sustainable. Psycho Pirate, a dude who can influence emotions, is weirdly integral to this plot, and I kind of hated that on principle because I think he's an idiot.
That means I don't have any good opinion about Psycho Pirate because I hate this character with all my heart.
Good man.
Even stories that were outside of Crisis, wherever he was, it was just like this stupid ass story of I really hurt your feelings, but I'm in them now, so get used to it. And I'm like, this is a compelling villain. He gets high off of people's feelings. Like, this is it? Lame, man. Fucking lame. But anyways, digress. Go ahead.
So the multiverse team that gets assembled to help sort out this whole problem is just a bunch of fucking people, lots of whom don't even exist later. We've got like King Solivar, Dawnstar, Firebrand, Blue Beetle, Psycho Pirate, Arion the Sorcerer, Superman, Dr. Polaris, Obsidian, and an itty-bitty baby Alexander Luthor Jr. from Earth 2.
Haha, he comes up later.
We find out that the antimatter multiverse is the result of Krona, a scientist from Oa, the home of the Green Lanterns. He was fucking around and accidentally created an infinite number of positive duplicate universes and an antimatter duplicate. In both the original universe and in the evil one, a monitor-type being was born. They've decided to throw down, but passed out until the present. This was later retconned, hence my description of the monitors earlier. It's also worth knowing that the OG verse has Oa, and the antimatter verse has Horde, and no other verse has a version of those 2 planets. With this exposition dump sorted, the heroes go fight the anti-monitor. In that fight, Supergirl dies. There's a lot of drama. Very sad. We then find out that the anti-monitor is making an antimatter cannon to destroy the remaining universes, and Barry Allen the Flash manages to run so fast, he stops that from happening for plot reasons, and then runs himself out of existence. This was also very sad. Yeah. A lot of drama.
Yeah, you've just brought up 2 of the most popular and probably the most significant covers that were in that run. Yeah. The cover with Superman holding Kara and the Barry Allen looking at the monitor. Yeah, those are like the most sought out covers for that whole Crisis run.
If there's anything else people know about Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's these 2 deaths. These are the big ones, though a lot of people do die. Barry's actions and sacrifice also wakes up the Spectre, who will also be useful later. There's an explosion on Oa, it kills a bunch of people, Guy Gardner gets back a ring and swears vengeance TM. I have only mentioned this because Red asked me to. I don't think Guy Gardner is important.
No one ever does.
So Brainiac and normal evil Lex Luthor decide that, this is the time to try and take over not just one Earth, but actually all 5 of the ones that currently exist. And the plan really was surrender or we'll fucking blast everyone. Despite the fact that, they are threatening all 5 Earths that exist and therefore would not have anywhere to live following this event. I don't know. People make a lot of stupid plans in these events. There's villain infighting. It's fucking stupid. The villains cause a lot of problems. It's mostly just to kill time because Spectre pops his head in and it's just like, hey guys, heads up, the anti-monitor is not dead, actually.
We're approaching issue 10 and we need to wrap up this plot.
Yeah, and people go, all right, we'll get to that as soon as we finish punching villains, which they do. They then cut to actually dealing with the fucking anti-monitor again. And they're like, all right, we got this. We're gonna face the anti-monitor. And he proceeds to fuck them up. Spectre turns up and they do a light beam thing that apparently destroys all of reality, but JK, it's actually just the Big Bang. And now there's one Earth, except it's weird. Stuff got smooshed together. a lot was lost in the crossover. There's a handful of people who were from Earth 2 who are still alive and are uncomfortable about it because they don't have a real place anymore.
The old fogies from the JSA had their home destroyed. Now they're on Earth 1, and they just kind of hang out because their lineage is basically lost.
In this world, they never became heroes, according to the local history. Then some magic shit happens, and the Earth gets pulled from one universe to another again, this time into the antimatter universe, which is obviously bad. A lot of bad, scary death things proceed to happen. Darkseid turns up, Dove gets murdered by shadow demons, etc. From this point on, it's pretty much just people that are from Earth 2 that die, as we sort of thin out the herd so we only have one version of everybody. So we go back to Quard, the evil version of Oa, and Kal-El, the letter, not the word, Superman from Earth 2, kills the Anti-Monitor, and then he, not evil Lex Luthor Jr., Superboy Prime, and Earth 2 Lois Lane retire to a weird paradise pocket dimension to live out the rest of their days or whatever. This definitely ends well.
They definitely stay there the entire rest of DC canon and never return.
Following this nonsense, the remaining primary Earth sorts itself out and reasserts timelines and such to allow the survivors to exist properly. It doesn't actually go great for everyone, because some people existed across multiverses. Like Power Girl, she's now just one of the people who's stuck going, I guess my cousin doesn't exist anymore. Weird. And this is where we get DC's New Earth, that they'd continue to use in some form or another until Flashpoint. This event literally changed the face of the DC multiverse because it went, actually, we don't know how to manage that, and we will give it back until we sort it out. It also gives us Superboy Prime, who definitely won't be a problem later. No. And Supergirl and Barry Allen's deaths, the big deals here, versus the C-list heroes who died and or got written out of existence. That's 1.
2. 0 Hour, A Crisis in Time. An event that was meant to clean up all the garbage that was left over from Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, because Crisis on Infinite Earths didn't do a good job of cleaning up Superman, Batman, the Legion of Superheroes, and a handful of other characters, we needed something to sweep up the board a little bit. So, this came out in 1994, and the villain of this is twofold, actually. The first one is Extant. Extant gets a little weird, and here we go. So, Hawk, of Hawk and Dove fame. For those unfamiliar with Hawk and Dove, go watch Titans. That's Hawk and Dove.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Go on.
Gets mixed up with Chronal Energy and becomes Monarch. He was not initially Monarch, but because the event in which Monarch's identity was revealed, somebody had leaked exactly who Monarch was initially, and so DC writers had to play basically catch up and put a band-aid over it, and now it's Hawk. So for all intents and purposes, it is in fact Hawk.
It's supposed to be Captain Ad.
However, if you take Monarch and you add time and more chronal energy, you get Extant. A dude who borrows from Marvel's Onslaught so well it might as well be copyright infringement. The second villain of this event is evil Green Lantern Hal Jordan, Parallax. The too long didn't read version of how he becomes Parallax is Hal had just lost his home city, and because he was so full of anger and everything and couldn't bring it back with all of his willpower, he went on an absolute murder spree of the rest of his Green Lantern companions. With this unlimited power, the being that lives inside the Green Lantern battery took control of Hal's body and made him all angry, gave him salt and pepper hair, and gave him the coolest costume Hal Jordan has ever worn, Fight Me. This event, time is being unwritten from both ends. From the beginning of time to the end of time. The first people that interact with this on both sides are Commandee, the boy at the beginning of time, basically, and the Legion of Superheroes, a team from the 31st century. This is sparked by Hal trying to remake the universe in his image to correct the sins he's already committed because now he's sorry. Like the event we just discussed, 0 Hour is meant to shake things up, such as put every version of Hawkman together so there's only ever one version. Because as of this point, there was Hawkman, Man-Hawk, Hawk God Man, Man-Hawk, Hawkman, and they all became...
Hawkman.
Exactly. And they all became one person, along with Hawkgirl.
What?
Can you believe this is relevant later?
So basically, 0 Hour was just there to clean up a timeline.
Basically. The JSA the Green Lantern of old, Alan Scott, Jay Garrick the Flash, who I mentioned earlier, all are aged up to their ages they would be in real time. So if they really were the first superheroes, they would be freaking ancient and walking around with Kane with his tennis balls on it. The person who actually wins the day and makes sure this event doesn't continue to happen is none other than Green Arrow Oliver Queen.
That motherfucker.
With Hal Jordan now dead because Oliver Queen shot him in the head with an arrow, and then he was real sad about it for a while, the heroes that are left are Wave Rider, a cosmic being that is Captain Atom, but with chronal energy, Superman, the combo Hawkman that's now established, the Atom, Batgirl, and Green Arrow. They all do basically what equates to a Care Bear stare, and they all funnel their energy into a character known as Damage. Damage existed for about 4 months before this event all took place, and his main superpower is he can absorb energy. With the Care Bear stare of our heroes, plus whatever the heck Batgirl and Green Arrow are doing to him, Damage explodes outwards and becomes a second Big Bang, putting the universe right again for the second time. There's one last thing about this event that I do need to mention. So I mentioned, the Bat family and the Superman family in some way, shape, or form. However, DC has this little thing called a Trinity, and Wonder Woman needs to be somewhere. So Wonder Woman gets fucked around because somebody doesn't know how to write a Wonder Woman comic or something. And
Chronic issue.
The biggest female heavy hitter is taken off of the field in issue 1 of Zero Hour because she is going to help Power Girl give birth, and that baby will show up at the end of the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
So that takes us to our next crisis. Infinite Crisis. A 7-issue run from October 2005 to later in 2006. However, it also involved the Prelude series Countdown to Infinite Crisis and was directly followed by the 1 year later storylines, as DC hopscotched right past the direct consequences of this whole thing to a year post. What you need to know about Countdown. Blue Beetle Ted Kord dies. Wonder Woman kills the guy who did that, Max Lord. The Spectre loses his current human hosts and then goes and commits magic genocide. Ron and Thanagar, 2 planets, are in a war so big it is literally changing the shape of the universe.
Thanagar being the homeworld of the Hawk people we mentioned earlier.
A whole bunch of villains have formed an evil team, and Donna Troy is back from the dead.
Yeah.
That was a lot. I know. This event doesn't become less. So we start with Superboy Prime in that Paradise dimension he retired to. And he's getting so angry, he punches reality and brings back Jason Todd and the entire Doom Patrol from the dead. Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
Please?
I always hear about this, but I need to know how Punch brings people back from the dead.
He fractured reality and some stuff went screwy. And we just we see on page that in the fractures around his fists, there are events happening. And one of them is Jason Todd waking up in a fucking coffin. And the other is the Doom Patrol doing similar things. It's
How are you so angry? You punch reality.
He was in a Paradise dimension with nobody else. He got lonely and then got upsetty and then,
smack.
So you punched this guy and it opened?
Yeah.
So,
Question.
yes, absolutely.
Let alone Jason Todd, right? He died and then come back with other Robins, but the whole Doom Patrol, he resurrected the whole team back.
The punch
Yes.
into the air.
Okay.
So Red misspoke a little bit. He wasn't quite alone because remember, we've got Superman 2, the Lex Luthor, and Lois Lane in there. So this Lex Luthor has decided to stop being a good boy and in true Luthor style goes over to Superboy Prime and goes, you know what? Yeah, New Earth is stupid. We should fix it. We should definitely fuck it up. And he sneaks Prime out of their pocket dimension. All that bad stuff I mentioned that happened in Countdown, he's been setting it all up. And also went and picked up the Anti-Monitor's corpse, which, given that dude was thrown into a sun, damn, okay. And then he hacked into Brother Eye, one of Batman's dumbest fucking inventions ever, and is using it to kill people and cause problems. Brother Eye, in brief, is an Orwellian nightmare monitoring satellite thingy-majig that can also turn people into evil robots.
And I believe it's given the name of the OMAC.
One man army.
Yes.
War.
In normal people land, the Trinity is arguing. Superman goes, I should probably go help out with that giant interstellar war. And Batman goes, you can't just leave. And also, Wonder Woman, you killed a dude, and I do not approve of that. But instead of being petty forever, they do in fact have to go do hero shit. Meanwhile, in the pocket dimension, douchey Lex convinces Earth 2 Superman to help kill people because they definitely deserve it, he promises. And also they can remake reality using Earth 2 as a template. They can apparently do that using people like Power Girl, who aren't really from this Earth. The Society, which is what this evil villain team calls itself, has decided that destroying a city is a great distraction. And so they chemical bomb the shit out of Bloodhaven. This kills millions of people. It's a big
Oh
deal.
my gosh. Okay.
Superboy Prime decides to be petty and goes to pick a fight with Con-El in Kansas. Con-El being the current Superboy. This escalates to include the JSA, the newly resurrected Doom Patrol, the Titans, and a couple other people. Prime kills some folks. The present speedsters, Jay Garrick, Wally West, and Bart Allen, drag him into the Speed Force, which ends in Jay falling on his ass, Wally getting eaten so hard it also eats his wife and kids. This destroys the Speed Force and presumably kills Bart too. Kal-El tries to convince Batman to help be evil, and Batman tells him to get fucked and tries to kryptonite him, so Kal-El melts it and leaves.
Oh, Superboy Prime. Okay, go on. What
Yeah.
else can you do?
He's a jackass.
Yeah.
The reason why he can go toe-to-toe with so many people is because evil Lex Luthor from the Pocket Dimension gave him, like, this fancy suit sort of thing. It's a thing that just charges with yellow sunlight that can superpower him.
Woman, where's my super suit? Okay.
While all this goddamn drama has been going on, heroes from various of the original 5 or so Earths have been getting captured in order to recreate the multiverse. It indeed creates a pretty shiny Earth 2, where all the people who existed there get to once again exist. And then Earth 2 Lois dies anyway, because multiverse travel is stressful, I guess. And Superman 2 screams so loud, Superman 1 turns up to see what the fuck is going on. Supes 2 pitches a bitch fit, and they destroy most of Metropolis until Wonder Woman turns up and tells them to cut that shit out. Back on Earth 1, they're putting out fires and decide to go save all the people plugged into the multiverse maker. In Japan, Dr. Light the Cool One runs into an adult Bart Allen in a Flash costume who's like, hey, so Superboy Prime has escaped the Speed Force and is going to continue being a dick. At the multiverse machine, somehow the worst version of Lex Luthor is remultiversing everything, which populates each world with their own folks, etc., etc. And then he tries to Play-Doh smoosh them together to create the perfect Earth. It is at that point that Superman 2 realizes he may have fucked up a little. Prime turns up at the machine and demands that Earth Prime be found for him, since that's where he's from and it negative exists. But this does not go the way he wants because Con-El shows up and they smack each other around for a bit, until Khan tackles Prime into the tower thingy, collapsing it, the multiverse, and dying in very spectacular fashion in his girlfriend's arms. Because this is not drama enough, the Society opens all the prisons and attacks Metropolis. Some more people die, but they're folks like the Trigger Twins and Amazo, so who gives a shit? Heroes win. Prime doesn't like this, of course, and decides to go fuck with Oa to reset the universe again, turn her off and on again. Between various Green Lanterns and 2 Supermen, they manage to beat him, not before he can kill Superman 2. They stick the boy in a box that they eventually stick in the middle of a red sun eater to be guarded by 50 Green Lanterns at all times. All the heroes decide that, you know what? This was a lot and they need a fucking break. So they go do whatever the fuck people did during the 1 year later year. Also, the douchey Lex Luthor gets electrocuted by the Joker because he refused him entry to their murderer club.
Wow, that was a whole event. Oh my God, there's so much that happened. What's the end result of all this one? Because this is like Superboy Prime did a whole lot of stuff, so I'm a little lost on that.
So a lot of people die. We got to be clear. And what this attempted to do was re-multiverse everything, and it kind of re-multiversed things a little bit. So now Elseworld stories are, more viable than they had previously been again.
After this, the multiverse is now back.
It was a lot. I'm sorry. And life does not get easier from here.
No. I mean, because like compared to like the other ones you just spoke about, they're a little bit more streamlined and simplified. Of like, this is a big thing that's happening. We can have like an opening and a middle and an end, and we're good. This sounds like a bunch. Well, I don't want to say like a bunch of formulas, but it sounds like a bunch of formulas that were in the works, and they're just like it branches off into this and branches off to that, and now they can just do whatever they need to do. I guess that works. I guess it worked. So.
It does, in fact, work when they want it to. Which brings us to 2008's Final Crisis. So, before I explain the plot of Final Crisis, I need to tell you who the hell Darkseid is. And the New Gods. Immortal beings outside of space-time exist on heaven and hell-ish worlds. Heaven is called New Genesis. Hell is called Apocalypse, spelt weird with a K in the middle for no fucking reason. Highfather runs New Genesis, and Darkseid runs Apocalypse. These two have been at war for basically all of eternity, on and off again. During one of their most bloodiest battles, they decide the only way to simplify this, and the only way to make peace, is to swap sons. The son of Darkseid, Orion, ends up with Highfather, and the son of Highfather, scot-free Mr. Miracle, ends up with Darkseid. This is to keep Darkseid away from the thing called the anti-life equation. And it is a real equation. In fact, it's on screen right now. Go ahead, say
stupid
it.
math.
It's dumb math. It's like depression plus anxiety plus whatever divided by God knows what. It's on screen. Don't worry about saying it out loud. You're not going to control nobody. Unlike if Darkseid gets a hold of this equation, he is going to control everybody and rewrite free will as we know it. So that's real bad news for a being called the Source, who essentially flips over 5 pieces of Exodia and redistributes the consciousness of the inhabitants of New Genesis and Apocalypse and spreads them out on Earth. Hal Jordan, back from the dead, because reasons, gets blamed for the death of the now human Orion after he was shot by a Radion bullet. Batman sees this, steals the bullet, and then is captured by Darkseid and then cloned. We're very lucky Batman doesn't have his own fucking clone saga.
Oh, God.
Wonder Woman gets wiped off the table again because she catches a virus that Darkseid makes and just exists over there on bed rest, basically.
Too sick.
Caught
Can't fight.
the pancakes, guys. You guys go ahead.
Superman is taken away after a bomb goes off. It hurts Lois Lane real bad, and a sister to the Monitor asks him politely to come aboard a ship called the Ultima Thule. On this ship, they end up in the Nothing, which is just a collection of universes that were abandoned. So it's an Easter egg for all the universes that no longer exist at that point. After punching a dark version of a Monitor, guess what he's called? The Dark Monitor. The Dark Monitor encapsulates all of the evil incarnate from all of the origins of the 52 Earths. And after punching that guy real hard, Superman can cure Lois. Back to the big plot again.
What is happening? Okay.
Darkseid, inhabiting a human body, now calling himself Father Darkseid, because he's the Godfather or something.
Oh, I was about to ask if he's a priest, but okay, I Godfather.
Daddy Darkseid?
No. He runs a bar called the Apocalypse Bar, and everybody ends up gathering there, basically. Batman breaks out of his cell, shoots Darkseid with a gun that is made from the bullet from earlier, and in the same moment Darkseid is shot by Batman, Darkseid shoots Batman with his eye lasers. And for all intensive purposes, for about 10 whole minutes, Batman is dead.
I think you got to mention, too, that those Radion bullets are the only material that actually hurts gods.
It sure is. So, Batman is dead, for all intensive purposes. And aside from this, we have 3 Flashes. Barry Allen, Wally West, and Jay Garrick, all running from a character known as, well, it's essentially Death but Zoomy, the Black Racer. And through basically cosmic alignment, the 3 Flashes line it up perfectly so the Black Racer runs through Darkseid and murders that man. Superman, just coming back and curing his wife, or girlfriend, depending on, is dragged back to the future by Brainiac 5 from the Legion of Superheroes and memorizes the plans to build the Miracle Machine, a God machine, a Deus Ex Machina.
The Fix-It MacGuffin.
The Fix-It MacGuffin. And he builds it in the present with super speed and super might and all the pieces he can find because they exist in modern times, I guess. And how this story comes to a close is Superman, instead of all the Discord song that is blaring out from Darkseid's evilness that's still on Earth and the multiverse, Superman yells a song real loud and counters that whole evil song and puts the whole universe right in one go.
What is happening?
I don't know what to tell you.
I'll stop you, Darkseid, with my Spotify playlist.
Check out my SoundCloud.
Kal-El, the SoundCloud rapper.
So this takes us to Flashpoint. Actually, this one's pretty straightforward. So if you've seen the hour and 30-minute animated movie, you've kind of got the gist. But we're going to talk about it anyway. Because funnily enough, the comic event sets things up in a slightly different order. I'm fairly certain that in the animated movie, it starts off with Barry doing the thing that's on the top, number 1 in the top 10 reasons to smack the shit out of Barry Allen. And then you see the fallout. Whereas in the books, Barry just wakes up and everything is different now. So he wakes up and there's like Citizen Cold who's saving Central City. His mother is fine. His dad is dead. The Flash, the Justice League, Superman, none of that shit's real. There is a Batman though, and he does kill people because it turns out that he's actually Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, because on that night in the alley, Bruce Wayne got shot instead of his parents. The Atlanteans and the Amazons are at war, a war that is threatening literally the entire globe. And humans are kind of in the middle, getting their asses kicked by both sides because we are squishy and stupid. Barry decides that the best solution to being confused is to go find Batman, which, power to him, that's a good solution. He turns up at Wayne Manor and immediately gets his ass kicked by an old man who goes, "Who the fuck are you and why are you in my house?"
Yeah.
Barry manages to convince him that he's not crazy, he swears, mostly just because Thomas Wayne doesn't have a lot to lose. And also, if he electrocutes this dude to death in his basement, who's going to find out? They attempt to recreate the accident that gave him his powers. Trial 1 going very poorly. Trial 2 less poorly. But in between those two trials, politics keeps happening. Turns out Superman's pod crashed into Metropolis instead of a field and was therefore immediately taken to Science Town, which has not been kind to its only resident. Cyborg's actually fine for the most part, which good for him.
Nice.
Good for him.
Barry goes, "I think I know what happened. I think Zoom, or the Reverse Flash, depending on, at what point in canon you catch him, Theobald Thawne, has fucked up the timeline to prevent the Justice League from ever existing. So I gotta find him and punch him until he puts it back. Somewhere, and by somewhere I mean Fawcett City, Billy Batson is sad. This is a normal affair." They do actually find the whole Marvel family, though, and go, "Hey, you want to help with your superpowers?" And they go, "We're children, but I guess." And they form Captain Thunder, and they fight Wonder Woman, and it starts to go okay. And then, Enchantress turns up and is like, "Haha, I was pretending to be useful and helpful earlier, and now I'm actually here to kill you," and turns them back to children, and then Wonder Woman kills them.
Oh my
Man.
Bro.
Somewhere out there, Anakin Skywalker's smiling down on her.
Yes. Zoom finally turns up and is like, "Hey, Barry boy, how's it going?" He does not say that. But he starts to kind of laugh at him because Barry's like, "Fix what you did." And Zoom is like, "I didn't do shit, idiot. This was you." And then he grabs him and vibrates him to the right speed or whatever so that he remembers that, in fact, he was sad about his dead mom again. So he decided to travel back in time and save his mom's life. But because time doesn't like being fucked with, it just changed a bunch of shit. They zoom around, punching each other a lot. And it looks like Barry's going to get murdered because Zoom is very good at murdering speedsters. It's kind of his whole thing. So reality's breaking because Barry exists
In two places at once, basically.
And before Zoom can finish kicking the shit out of Barry, Thomas Wayne just stabs him and goes, "Look, I don't actually care if this works. If there is even a 1% chance you can go and change the universe back to the one where my son is alive, go do that." Barry re-enters the Speed Force and runs into time. And in the animated one, he tackles his younger self and is like, "Don't be an idiot." But in the comics, he actually just merges with him and stops running and has a little conversation with his mom where he's like, "I was here to save you, actually, but that's worse. It's in fact noticeably worse. I'm really sorry, Mom, you're going to die." And she's like, "Well, rip, I guess."
I live the good life. It's all good.
And he heads back to normal and is like, "Wow, everything is fine." Spoilers. Everything was not fine. Time doesn't like to be fucked with. So now everything is different and weird and, in my and many people's opinions, objectively worse.
The biggest difference for all the rest of our heroes is they have lots and lots and lines on their costumes.
The whole art style changes. They took away Superman's underpants.
Extra lines on the costume became the new extra pockets from the 90s.
What Barry did was he altered the universe so there's a brand new 52 multiverses out there. The new 52.
Ending.
It happened. It also, for the record, smashed New Earth, Vertigo, and Wildstorm together because they nommed other comics and wanted their characters now.
So you got such gifts as Grifter. Everybody put
Stop.
your hands together for Grifter.
Thanks, Barry. But at least this event was easy to follow.
Hmm.
I wish I could say the same for what's coming.
What a setup you gave me. Okay, so now we gotta talk about Convergence. 2015's Convergence. The widely considered the worst crisis. And fun fact of a little behind the scenes while we were constructing this episode, we forgot it entirely.
It's so bad, we actually erased it from our memory.
Holy.
And then as I was looking, so that way we did them in the correct order, I went, table, we missed one. So Convergence, right? The only reason this book and this event exists is because DC Comics was moving their building and their brand from New York to California. And it feels exactly as crappy as it needed to be to get that done. I'm going to go through this as fast as humanly possible. Brainiac is using a character known as Talos to help him in his usual stick, but ramped up to 11. So it's capture cities and make them fight to the death. This book has 40 tie-ins. None of them matter. There's 6 or so issues of this book blazing through. It reimagined Earth 2 battles and then befriends Talos and then fights Deimos, which is basically Talos but mean. After putting pre-Crisis Superman, Parallax Green Lantern back to fuck with Crisis on Infinite Earths and 0 Hour respectively, we never see exactly how that goes down, but the story says it happens. Every DC Earth and continuity is put into what was then called the Megaverse.
It's a blender.
Immediately after doing so, DC books sold like week-old moldy laundry, and now Convergence and its subsequent new writing initiative, the DCYOU, so the DCU, are largely ignored. This is where, for example, Gordon becomes Batman and puts on the blue Batman mech suit.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, this is...
Hold on. James Gordon?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gordon himself.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Boom. Convergence done.
And I hope you guys appreciated that jaunt into brevity, because we're about to have to get long-winded again. Because the next event in our long list of DC decisions is Dark Knight's Metal.
Oh no, okay.
Dark Knight's Metal was a 2017-2018 event that really went hard. And that is the kindest thing I will say about it. Because this series starts weird as fuck, to be clear. Like, we get the prelude that sort of sets the tone by having things like Batman investigating so many metals because he had a weird fucked up vision while sort of a little dead. And also we find out that apparently metahumans are metahumans because the secret magical sketchy metals are in their blood. It's a lot, which is why I just kind of breezed through that with the things I cared about most. The book actually starts with issue 1 with the JLA on War World, the second one, fighting mechs and then taking over the mechs and Voltroning it to win the day.
Sick.
This, to be fair, also kind of sets the tone for Metal because everything is going to be extra all the time, always. The very next event is literally a mountain showing up in Gotham, crushing shit. We find a secret mountain lab that they go into and then go off to a different lab to get expositioned at. Carter Hall, who is currently MIA and also Hawkman, has been researching Nth Metal, the super powerful mystery metal that both his and Hawkwoman's maces are made out of. So it turns out that metal is probably evil, or at least comes from an evil place known as the Dark Multiverse. This sounded fake even to Carter, so he decided to lead a bunch of people to go take a look, which is what accidentally dropped a mountain on Gotham. Some of their last words were a warning to, quote, keep the doorway shut, which you may have noticed we've already fucked up. Their other last words were Red Tornado saying there was a giant fucking dragon called Barbatos wiggling around. Now, for the astute listener, you may remember that when I was talking about the monitors, the Dark Monitor was like creating worlds and had a recycling dragon. This is that recycling dragon who decided he wanted to be evil. He was supposed to recycle realities so that creation could continue. And like anything that was bad, he was supposed to go, that's bad, and eat it. But instead, he decided, that's bad and funny, and he started collecting them.
I used to care about eliminating your carbon footprint, but I don't care anymore.
And according to Research TM, a Wayne is going to bring that dragon to Earth. So, of course, the logical next step is to try and detain Batman. Batman, having negative interest in being detained, deals some Nth Metal and fucks right off. We then get like some segments from Hawkman's journal where he's like, okay, so here's a weird, vague sort of prophecy thing because we are being extra. And also, this is my fault. I did poke a hole in reality because I was curious. And now all of the evil shit's going to crawl in. My bad. We also get all this weird about tribes. There were 3 normal ones, bear something else in Hawk. That's the one we care about. And one super fucked up evil one. And the evil one summoned a demon that the very first iteration of Hawkman and Hawkwoman had to swap back to its own dimension, except, gasp, at some point one of the good tribes splintered and were betrayed by the formation of a Judas tribe. So Batman is tinkering because he is incapable of leaving shit alone, finds Hawkman's journal and goes, this might be bad. And then gets visited by Dream of the Endless from Sandman. He just agrees to nebulously help them later under very specific but vague circumstances and fucks off. We proceed to cut to a very Gooby-Doo-esque attempt by the Justice League to catch Batman, full of decoys, cars, and recklessly allowing teenagers to drive unsupervised. It turns out that it's all a play because Bruce has been collecting metal cooties from all the special metals that exist, and he's gonna swap places with a fucking evil dragon from the Shadow Realm once he gets all the cooties. And he doesn't know why this is happening, but it's been happening ever since his very terrible vacation at the end of Final Crisis. This is where we get some of the worst plans I have ever heard. The Immortal Men think the best idea is to use the Anti-Monitor's astral brain, like a nuke, to explode the shit out of the Rock of Eternity, and that'll destroy the Dark Multiverse somehow. Bruce's plan isn't better. He's gonna go to Egypt and use baby Darkseid to travel back in time to smash Barbatos with Hawkman's mace before shit can go down. We don't even get to test either of these stupid plans because the Court of Owls turns up and are like, actually, we're the Judas tribe all along. And the final magic metal that didn't exist until just now is here, and they dunk Batman with it like he's a goddamn coach at a football game, and then turn him into a living portal. Enter the fucked up gang. It starts off with 3 spooky little Robin boys. They skeletal. They look like they need a snack. They clearly do not have an Alfred. Then there's the Red Death, who is Batman fused with the Flash and also his car. The Murder Machine, which is Batman fused with an Alfred AI and not his car, but a bunch of technology.
Hold on.
Go for it.
I can understand being fused with the Flash. Can you explain the car, please?
He was in the car at the time when he fused with the Flash because they were both going very fast.
Yeah, they entered the Speed Force
and
all
the car
together
came
and
along
became
for the
one
ride.
thing.
So now the car is the body as well?
Supposedly.
Yeah, that's what makes up his reddish armor.
It is Batman, Batmobile, and the Flash.
Barry Allen.
And the
We then have
the Murder Machine was one with Alfred and some tech in there. Okay.
we then have the Dawnbreaker, who is a version of Bruce who just got a Green Lantern ring, and because that man has enough willpower to out-stubborn God himself, he's very scary and also corrupted all of the Lantern rings in his universe. There's the Drowned, who they were at war with the Atlanteans, kind of, and she kept modifying herself until she could keep up with them and ended up a weird fish lady. Also the only female. There's the Merciless, who Ares made a helmet to be super powerful. Batman puts it on, goes crazy. There's the Devastator, who gets really mad at his world Superman, so he takes a modified version of the Doomsday virus to become a fucked up Doomsday-like creature. And then, last but certainly not least, the Batman who laughs. Now, this motherfucker is, in my opinion, the least interesting, but he sure is the one we get the most content for. He's the mastermind. He's the guy pulling the strings, second only to the super demon dragon himself. His story is basically this world's Batman strangles the Joker and gets a face full of weird gas that turns him evil and murdery, but still super smart. He also corrupts a bunch of children because he's a horrible person and then kills his entire family, etc., etc. Batman's abilities with Joker motivations. He's a jackass and very pointy and proceeds to cause so many problems because all of these guys are dark matter, which makes them very hard to punch. This is inconvenient. You, in fact, need nth metal to fight them effectively. In their attempts to stop this shit from happening, they were actually going around destroying all the nth metal they could get their hands on. Wonder Woman and Superman get tied to a tower for a week where they have sad time visions about failure over and over and over again. And then when they get down, everything is fucked up. The Flash turns up, drags them to the Oblivion Bar, which is a pocket dimension drinking establishment that serves as the chosen meeting place for a magic user coalition. It's safe because it's a pocket dimension. They talk about how shit is indeed fucked. they realize that the goal is to sink their universe down so it can get dragged into the dark multiverse. They had to go track down nth metal, which they can hopefully find because Plastic Man starts vibrating and giving them coordinates via vibrations, which is truly
It is important
and
to
yet
mention
somehow
here,
relevant later. A team goes to Atlantis. This I will refer to as Swim Team. A team goes to Thanagar Prime. A team goes to the Rock of Eternity. And Superman insists that Batman's been trying to contact him from the Abyss. And he's like, I'm going to get him out of the Abyss. And he grabs the Flash and a couple other people to go do that. Unfortunately, that's actually the wrong call because the Abyss needs a battery and has been trying to lure Superman here because he sure is great at carrying energy.
it is important to mention that Plastic Man currently, as probably a reference to The Dark Knight Returns, is egg-shaped.
Oh, yeah. You see, the reason he's vibrating is because he's channeling all of the energy from the dark multiverse. And that means he's being constantly filled with all of the worst parts of the universe. And he's so stressed out, he has decided to be an egg. In the Abyss, where Superman and Batman are together, Batman remembers some of Dream's crypticness. And Dream is like, I will indeed zoop you and your buddy right out of there to my library.
So this library is filled with stories untold of undone universes, and should this library somehow cease to exist, all stories would come to an end.
Back to the Metal Hunters. The team at the Rock is fighting the 7 Deadly Sins. Swim Team has found a deposit, and Hal Jordan and Mr. Terrific are also in a trap with motherfucking Starro the Conqueror and some guy I don't care about because I think he's a Hawk People antagonist. And they don't care about the plot because they have a very big gun and it makes them feel safe. Though they are a little bit justified in this because that gun is theoretically capable of pulling the Earth up from where it's sinking. Yeah, Starro, for those who are not familiar, is a giant psychic space starfish. Batman and Superman get lectured by Dream, who's going to send them on the worst version of the Yellow Brick Road ever to the World Forge, where there will hopefully be a metal to kill an evil douchey dragon. But if they are pessimists on the way there, they will definitely die. On Wonder Woman's end, turns out Hawkwoman was only playing along because she held on to the stupid nuke plan from earlier, and she's going to do it, except she's so stressed she gets Lady Blackhawked because Black Adam and Vandal Savage have actually sided with Barbatos for villain reasons. And at the World Forge, there's a fucking dragonish version of Carter Hall claiming to be the keeper of the Dark Forge. Barbatos decides that it's time to yell real loud to summon evil, much like a tantruming child. Credit to him, he can be heard across literally everything and everywhere. Thanagar team are attempting to stage a prison break. Plastic Man is an egg. They go, you know what, we should probably help out with that egg thing before he, goes crazy and kills people, huh? Diana is basically having to solo so many problems at once. She manages to get a hold of Carter's nth metal mace just in time to get shot by an 8th metal bullet by the Batman Who Laughs, who then monologues at her because he's a prick. Swim Team finally has something interesting happen where its 2 members, Aquaman and Deathstroke, get harpooned by Black Manta. We also find out that the stupid gun on Thanagar would have worked if the Dawnbreaker Batman hadn't turned up and fucked with it earlier. Wonder Woman gets expositioned at even more until the Batman Who Laughs fucks off, and Diana punches Lady Blackhawk so hard she remembers to be Hawkwoman, and they go off to fight the Hordes of Darkness. Diana then smacks her 8th metal bracer against the nth metal mace, making a sound so loud it wakes up our other heroes who stopped for nap time. It even manages to get Plastic Man to de-egg himself. Wonder Woman jumps in a hole that takes her to the World Forge for reasons, and Hawkwoman follows her, where she is able to one true love get Carter to chill the fuck out. The Trinity gets some sick armor made of 10th metal, pure possibility, and then they have to go free everyone from the cosmic tuning fork. It's an evil thing with bad vibes, but if you give it different vibes, yay! And they kick the shit out of the Dark Knights. They put a hole in Barbatos, and they use the 10th metal to guide the world out of darkness. They smash the fucking source wall. So much for the 52 universes.
So it is here that I jump in with what the heck the source wall is and what it means now that it's broken. So the source wall, if you asked, I believe it's Grant Morrison, on the other side of the source wall is the Marvel Universe. Well, DC decides it doesn't want any part of that nonsense and says on the other side of that is possibilities and darkness and everything. Don't break it, but they did anyway. Out of Dark Knight's Metal 1, comes a whole bunch of books and a writing initiative for a little while, including the reintroduction of a character known as Damage, who has the same powers as his 0 Hour counterpart, but basically becomes DC's Hulk. And Sideways, who is, in essence, DC's Spider-Man for about 12 issues, and then his books gets canned because nobody's buying it.
His name is Sideways, which is a terrible name.
It is here that we take a break from comics and jump to the multimedia big crossover event known as Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Arrowverse this time.
If you thought the normal one was weird, just like take everything you liked about it and roll it flat with a rolling pin.
So this spanned across a handful of shows, mainly Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, and Legends of Tomorrow. They also decided to rope in every DC show that had ever existed up until then, including Titans, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, Swamp Thing, Batman 66, the Birds of Prey series nobody watched, Superman Returns, Lucifer, and Black Lightning. The last thing it manages to rope in, and is very important for a movie event to Warner Brothers, they also rope in the entire DCEU by including Ezra Miller's Flash.
Yeah, one cameo is all it takes.
Exactly. So unlike its comic book counterpart, this does not kill Supergirl, thankfully. In her place, Green Batman dies. In part 1. Our remaining heroes, plus Black Lightning, go out and try to find the 7 Paragons. Paragon of Hope being Supergirl, the Paragon of Truth being the Depressi Espressi Superman, the Paragon of Destiny being Sarah, the Paragon of Courage being the Batman of the future. For all, it's played by Kevin Conroy, so he gets a pass and I won't make fun of him too much. The Paragon of Honor being J'onn J'onzz from Supergirl. And last but not least, the Paragon of Love, Barry Allen. Using the powers of Jim Gordon the Spectre, which had not been introduced in the TV series, so we just call him A Spectre, inhabiting the body of Ollie Queensville, they restore all the Earths into one Earth, and by one I mean 5. Because Swamp Thing gets his own Earth, Stargirl gets his own Earth, Titans gets their own Earth, Doom Patrol gets their own Earth, and then all of the CW shows, plus the newest one, Superman and Lois, now all take place on the same Earth. So that is the brevity version of the Arrowverse crisis. Unfortunately, DC decided that it needed yet another crisis. But back in the comics this time, we have to do Dark Knight's Death Metal, a series that actually officially is called not a crisis, but an anti-crisis. Just like its prequel, it creates a whole bunch of dark and edgy action figures, I mean characters, such as the Robin King, a psycho child Bruce Wayne who killed his family. The Batmanosaurus, a Batman that puts his essence, his soul, into the T-Rex that usually lives in the Batcave.
Yeah, that's where I thought I was going. Okay.
The Batmo Beast, a Batman soul that's put into a monster truck. The Batum, which is a Bruce Wayne version of the Atom.
He gets instantly smashed flat. It's wonderful.
By the Batmo Beast. And then, so Scott Snyder says that any way you pronounce this character's name or anywhere you want to put the word bat into his name is valid. So with that in mind, his official name is Dr. Batmanton, but I think that's stupid. So it's Dr. Manbattan, a Bruce Wayne that recreated the experiment that created Dr. Manhattan, and then eventually just dies because he can't keep himself stable. So the Batman who laughs, from what Table was talking about, the new minions of the Batman who laughs decide to put these two evil versions of Batman together and flip over polymerization and make them one thing, thereby creating the Darkest Knight, a being so evil it cannot keep a corporeal form and exist on page as sheer blackness and edginess. This is as evil gets, except for Perpetua is still around and fucking things. So because the Justice League broke the source wall, it let Perpetua have access to all of the dark energy from all the dark multiverses that still existed. And she was funneling all of that with the help of Lex Luthor, and then she became all sorts of powerful, and now the Darkest Knight is her right-hand man. This omniversal battle ends with Wonder Woman forging a chainsaw out of her invisible jet, our current version of Wonder Woman grabs the hand of the Golden Age Wonder Woman. They walk off into the light, become one thing, and explode the universes into its 50 plus 2 that nobody seems to be able to access. This event brings everything to a front and gets called Infinite Frontier. So now the writers of DC and everybody at a top level can write any story they want with any mixed continuity that they want and put it wherever they want. And that's modern day. Infinite Frontier came out, it'll be a month and a half as of the posting of this episode. And that sets up the fact that this is sometimes who our new Batman is. This is what Selena Kyle is doing. This is everything. And that's up to date.
Until they decide that's too messy, they want to have to fix that up too.
And when they do that, I'm sure we'll do an episode on it.
After absorbing everything, I can tell you right now that my favorite version of Batman is the Bat hyphenated man, which happens to be just a simple man that uses a bat to fight justice. Everything labeled sounds like when you walk through your favorite Toys R Us and you see like a whole list of the Batman toys on there. Deep sea water fighting action Batman, Kung Fu grip Batman,
and Dr. Batmatten.
I don't think I could recommend anyone actually read these events.
I think the only
They're
one that
not
you
all
should
bad.
read is Crisis on Infinite Earths. Read that one, call it a day.
Yeah.
With that reading list, I believe it's time for one more thing.
Beastie, get us out of this.
Lead us into the Omniverse.
Well, if you'd like to hear about the Omniverse or more say of other comics and stuff, you can make sure you hit that subscribe button, and then we upload every Wednesday, and you can also catch us streaming on live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/NerdCrusade. You can also download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through Anchor FM or search Nerd Crusade on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates and join our Crusader chat on Discord. Links are on the screen and in the description, but also thanks for joining us. And until next time, fellow Crusaders.
That's to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by...